Welcome to Fast Pace, the new growth, leadership and management podcast featuring Josh Phegan and Dean Mackie. We wanted to peel back the layers on what happens in the world of fast-paced real estate agencies, from new leadership models to the management challenges we all face each day. This is about a new era in the estate agency sector. Rapid changes to business models, service lines, remuneration and growth present the greatest opportunities that we've ever seen. Sit back, get inspired, grow your skills, and reimagine what's possible with Fast Pace. Every Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Josh Phegan Digital. Dean, there's no doubt that sales leadership is a really important thing inside of any business. And, the interesting thing is that someone's actually got to be in charge of really making sure that they are in that position to lead the sales team. I think about, one of the functions, they run a thing called a sales meeting. And I look at that and I go, okay, great. What's the purpose of a sales meeting? To actually go and make sales. If you're a sales leader, what you're supposed to do is to help people make sales. And so there's lots of functions that come into that, from prospecting to how we win listings to what we do to actually process those listings and get them to sold. But you know what? Sales leadership is a really important conversation for people to get right. You've been around lots and lots of different people that have attempted sales leadership. You've seen some people that have been phenomenal at it. What are some of the lessons in sales leadership and how you got to perform at your absolute best?
Interesting topic, Josh. This is something that I've been around for a long time, both in our industry and outside of our industry. And I've seen it work well and have seen it not work so well. And I've got to say, it's a really, funny enough, I think it's a really hard role to find good people for. Mm-hmm. And I think generally, you've got two schools of thought. You can recruit someone who into this role or have someone who's an existing sales agent go into that role. Mm-hmm. And I think most of the time an agent doesn't necessarily listen to that person unless they've had the time in the seat, which is unfortunate because it's not just about deal focus, right? Mm-hmm. It's also about so many other things. And just because you're a good salesperson who's migrated into a management role doesn't mean you're actually a good coach. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so then you start saying, well, hold on, do they need to be a good coach or they need to be... So you start to go, well, hold on, what do you want this person to be? Mm-hmm. Because if you're looking for coaching and enablement for bigger things and... then maybe it's not the ex-salesperson, maybe it's a professional, someone who's worked in coaching somewhere else. It's unrelated to the industry, who's prepared to get in and have the accountability conversations. Because the other thing I find that sales agents are typically people pleasers, and therefore as a sales manager, they won't have the hard conversations either. So I think that it depends what you want in this role. And I think I've sort of come to the conclusion, and I'm not concluded forever, but at the current point in time that... these roles are often much broader than you think. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, there's going to be strengths and weaknesses inside every person that goes into that role. Mm-hmm. And some parts of the function, they'll do better than others. Mm-hmm. And that will be different between sales manager to sales manager. Mm-hmm. And so therefore, it's quite tricky. We're going through a process now where we've there's a few ways to do it too. You can actually allocate a sales manager to an office or a region. And in our case, we've done that. But what I've also found is an interesting way to go is to go, well, hold on, if this person's skill set is good at that, perhaps I should just get them to do more of that and less of the other stuff and find a way to deal with the other stuff. And then go, okay, well, maybe that sales manager's could be too low level for a high performer. Might not be good at helping build teams, but might be good at other stuff. So you go, maybe I need to match the sales manager's skill set to agents that have a need for that particular skill set and so on. So we're now moving in that direction, and then to support that with a coaching panel and go, well, as we go through the process and say, Josh needs X, Y, Z, you can get that out of so-and-so, but this other stuff over here, she's not going to do that very well, or he's not going to do that very well. So maybe we need to provide that agent, if we're fair income about it, some coaching externally or internally with different people to get what they want out of that person. So,
which I love that approach, because it's the conversation around skill gaps, right? So I've got Dean here and he's $1 million writer, but how do I turn him into a $5 million writer? What are the skill gaps that are missing there? Oh, he's not really good at organisation. He doesn't have someone around him who can actually do that. He's trying to manage and run a team. He doesn't really have the skills around that. And growing a new person, he just doesn't have time to sit down and to teach them how to take an offer. Yeah. Okay, great. So if I've got that particular individual, how do I unlock their potential? And the lesson is to say, okay, great.
And it could be that sales manager is not going to unlock it, and it may in fact block it.
Sure, and it's not just that one person now. It could be across the organisation. You've got different people that have got some different skill sets, and sometimes it's like, okay, great, just go and spend some time with that particular person who can actually train that. Too often it's about I'll just go sit in the car and learn by observation. And sometimes you can learn a lot. I don't know that I learned a lot in that conversation with Dad before and after listing presentations in the very early days. When you think about the sales leadership piece, okay, great. What are the things that you go, hey, you know what? Mackie is awesome at database and agent profile and really good at teams and great at assistants. But over here, Brent's actually really phenomenal about understanding the numbers, how to take market share by, and absolutely substantially grow it. And is really fundamentally great at the come to Jesus conversation, which I know is one of your favorite ones. And so like literally knowing that we've actually got a set of tools. And then in the sales leadership function, what are the series of conversations that we've got available or tools that people can just pull off the shelf that naturally we can use straight away? So we always know that this is a great conversation when we're doing business planning, or this is a really good one to do when I'm trying to get a team reorganized and just get those questions right. Like when I walk into a team, one of the first things I do, particularly if there's dysfunction, is say, hey, I'm just going to ask you all a very simple question. Who are you and what do you do here? And how people explain what they do tells me exactly how they think about the role. And then what they tell me they do tells me exactly what they think they do. And if there's any mismatch between that, that's how I can get rid of that misalignment and to get it into perfect smooth alignment so that we can be moving in that direction of achieving the goals.
Yeah, I hear you. I think hence why we've moved down that pathway, right? And I think that increasingly that's more effective, and we're transforming into that. We used to do that once before; it was really effective, and we changed anyway. I think it's a continuous process. You've got to sort of ebb and flow with what your needs are. But I think again, it's not as simple as you think. I mean, for a sales manager, if you want to call it that. They're often then dealing with a lot of hygiene issues, culture issues, if there are any. They're also responsible for communication typically, right, around what's happening in the organisation, what's happening in the market, what new products and tools we need, and they're also typically responsible for holding the team accountable for performance. So, but you're still going to need some office type comms. So even if you go agent by agent to match them to various sales managers, and you go, well, there still needs to be someone who's handling the day, not just the day to day, but the weekly communication around what's important, what's not. So I think if you break it down, boil it down, and say, well, what's a sales manager's role? So to support the team. It's about helping them with their KPIs, right? It's about giving some consistency of comms, but equally it's about just helping the agent become more productive.
Growth,
right? So,
unlock it.
So, how do you do that, right? So you got coaching and accountability. It's like, okay, what about building a business plan for the region, but equally for each individual, and actually having those conversations. Some sales managers are going to be good at that. Some might not be good at the process itself, but they might be good at the accountability. So it's understanding what role they can play based upon the value they can add. Because culture, the day-to-day stuff that goes on between agents, that hygiene can get out of control pretty quickly, right? So we've got we've developed a set of what we call guiding principles. Those principles are all about how we communicate with each other and how we behave in certain circumstances. Sort of the rules of engagement, right? So then everybody's on the same page, and that part of their responsibility in our business is to actually make sure culturally that's actually what's happening. But deal focus and recruitment, and there's a whole list of stuff you can go on with that a sales manager can add tremendous value to enabling the growth of your business if you have a good one, but also knowing that you may not be able to abdicate all of the things you'd like them to do to one person. You may need multiple people. So I think that I've seen sales managers really struggle when you expect all of these things from them in any one time, and you've got to understand there are going to be some agents in your business who don't click with that person. High performers have different needs to lower performers, and so if you've got someone who's got a good skill set of helping bringing a younger or emerging talent to give them more scripts and dialogues, but equally more systems and tools that are going to enable them when they become successful, so they can become successful faster. That might be a different person who's in a high performers year, helping them let go of limiting beliefs to become better than what they are.
So Dean, I think about a few things that you're bringing up for me, and I think. Remember, like there was the pyramid, and there used to be the CEO at the top, and then it kind of went down and cascaded down to everyone who sits in the organisation. And then servant leadership was about flipping that. So the CEO sat at the bottom, and effectively there was the small pointy part of the triangle, and it went up, and so you're there to serve everyone. And I always think that even my role as a coach when I go into an organisation is that I sit below everyone inside that organisation, and my role is to support and to grow. And the interesting thing is that, okay, great, what are the tools and dialogues and approaches that I can use for this particular person? So how does Dean like to be coached? How does he respond well? What are the things that we're actually going to do to make that happen as opposed to just sledgehammer? But also to understanding, okay, great, if I'm going to be really good in my role, I need to understand what are my forward indicators. And at different stages of market cycles, you will have different forward indicators. Sometimes, and I know that you've got this happening at the moment, you've got some markets where days on market are very, very efficient, selling in under 21 days. You've got some markets where naturally it's creeping out to like 100 days plus. And what you've got to realize is that that's going to require a different set of skills and a different set of tools that might be important to be able to manage those processes. So if you're just running one theme, that can be a bit of a problem.
100%.
But I look at you'd say forward indicators. Okay, so what are they? So I would say, how many listings have we got? How many have we listed this week? How many opens do we have this Saturday? How many auctions do we have ahead? Whatever your forward indicator is, you got to find what's the one that's going to get the movement, to get the growth, to achieve the goal.
Well, that's the role of that leadership responsibility, is to really be moving the team forward and focusing on the things that matter the most and anticipating what they are. Because an agent can easily get just, it's sort of like, if you look at satellite view, helicopter view and sort of street level, agents are street level, So with a sales manager, they need to be able to go to street level as they need to. They need to be also have the helicopter view, and they need to have satellite. So you need to be working with them to go, how do you make sure that all of that's actually happening, so the sales agent knows what they need to focus on? Because if something shifts, we might need to shift the way we're selling. Or, for example, days on market might be going up because we're listing more private treaty than we're not. Or agents might not be selling certain tools that are going to help them actually get a better result. So it's actually knowing what those things are and getting in and applying the pressure so that it can actually get a better result for the customer.